Welcome back, you guys. I'm Tassie, and this is my Ghostly Update vlog. And on today's episode, I'm going to be talking a bit about like a story time. Really, throughout time, as I've had my channel up, a lot of people have asked me, like, how do I feel about my spiritual parents versus my real parents? And I'll be doing a little bit of storytelling there. And then from there, we're going to go into people who tend to get tired around certain shamans, even if they're doing like a ceremony. If you're around a certain shaman, people who tend to yawn a lot. So we'll be talking about that. And then at the end, I'll be talking about people who hand down tools and the whole meaning of that. Now, getting into about my spiritual parents and then my real parents. This part may sound a little weird to you guys, especially if you guys don't understand it, because people who I've tried explaining it to, they think it's a little weird. Like, they can understand it, but they can't fully grasp what I'm saying. So since I was young, I've had images of my spiritual father checking up on me and seeing what I'm doing. And I didn't know at the time who this person was. I would just always see somebody's watching me, and I would always see the same man. Now, when I became a shaman, I eventually met him, and then everything made sense and why he was always watching me. With that being also said, since I was a kid, I've always felt that I was just plopped onto the earth. Like, literally, like, it's almost like I don't have parents, but I know I have parents. But when I see my real parents, I don't have this, like, deep connection with them. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, we all love each other. We do not have like a hate relationship or whatever. It's just, I don't have like a connection to them in that way. And this has been since I was a kid. So it's nothing that they've ever done. And I've had great times with them. We've had great memories, you know. It's just, but that doesn't mean that I would have that kind of emotion towards them. I do have that emotion towards my spiritual parents in the spirit world, though. Heavens, whatever you guys want to call it. So I have that kind of emotion towards them. So before I was a shaman and I understood really what that all was, I always just felt like I was put here and I was on my own. Like, I was doing my own thing kind of thing. Like, I had people who watched me and all that stuff, but I don't have that kind of sense of connection. Like, the way... And what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, like, I have tons of friends and family members and stuff, and I'll see the way they interact with their parents. Even my own siblings, how they interact with my mom or my dad. It's very different from how I interact with them. I would say that, like, my mom and dad, I would see them as an uncle or an aunt. And maybe it's because I haven't lived with them for a very long time, and, you know, I'm 32 too at the same time, and I've lived alone for a long time, and so I don't have that connection, not even since I was young. Like, I never had that connection, like, I need to be around my mom, or I need to be around my dad. I just lived my life and I enjoyed it, and they were just like adults who governed over you. Yeah, you know, like, you can't be out all night being homeless and all that. So you had to clean the house and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, my parents beat me, but they beat all of us. And it wasn't like a drunken beating you. We were bad kids. We were bad kids. So it's, you know, like, but even seeing like my siblings, they have this attachment and this need to please our parents, and I just don't have that. It's just, I just see them like a friend, and that is my relationship with my real parents. Now, you know, if my real parents call me up, or, you know, I visit my mom and my family out in California about once a year, and so, but again, I don't have that. How I see them is probably how I see a sibling. And even seeing my own siblings, they are, it's different because I see the spiritual side, so it's a different feeling. And I think that's why I end up feeling differently, because I see the spiritual side. So as you guys know, like with my other video, I talked about how I don't fear death, and I don't see death as like an end, whereas a lot of people see it as an end. Because for me, I believe in different spirits, and I believe in different paths, and that you still keep moving on. So I just feel like their journey here, if somebody dies, is just it. They are moving on now. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, whereas I have peace. I have come to peace with it. So now I think a lot of that probably makes me seem really heartless, but it's just the truth, because I see a spiritual connection And that's like my older brother. In this world, my older brother is my older brother, but in the spiritual world, I'm actually older than him. So we connect really well. We're like always reading each other's mind, always knowing things about each other. We just know, because we're really good at reading people. Now, with that being said, though, it was so that he would come first so that I would watch him versus me coming first and then he would have to watch me, because in the spiritual world, I'm older. And we kind of have that kind of relationship. Like my older brother, he's not the type to, I guess in a easier sense, in traditional families, older brothers tend to like own or like be the lead in the family and stuff like that. But my brother, he's actually very understanding of where everybody's coming from, and he doesn't do that. If anything, I tend to do that a lot. I have that personality to do that. Now, as far as like my spiritual parents, though, I do feel a connection with them. And even though they're not alive in this plane of existence, though, I hear my dad every time he yells at me. He yells at me a lot. You guys may not realize that. I don't know if I've ever shared that. My spiritual mom does not yell at me as much because she's not as... Well, I think because I take after my dad more versus my mom. So she's very respectful of like my position, what I'm doing. Whereas my dad, he's like all the time. So... he's always trying to tell me to do things. And so it's kind of funny, but it's kind of weird. So for him and my mom in the spiritual world, I have a much deeper connection with them versus the ones here, because I just know that I was plopped here, literally. Even though I just thought of that when I was a kid, it's pretty literal. Now, if you guys didn't think I was weird enough, now you do. So, and I think... I mean, in hindsight, you know, I've lived alone. I've been very independent since I was really young. So I've never developed that. I don't really know where my siblings developed it either, though. Like, one of my siblings got married really young, and I just don't know where she gets her connection. But, I mean, like, everybody else in my family feels this connection for our parents, and I have, like, no idea what they're talking about. But I try to be understanding. I don't know. They just mostly feel the need to, like, please our parents. And I'm more of the person who will challenge my parents that, you know, like, my happiness is more important than your happiness, because I'm selfish, y'all. Okay, y'all already know I was like the youngest for like 8 years. I was a favorite. So it was just, I'm really selfish, you guys. All right. Oh my God. And a lot of you guys know my older sister, Nancy. Nancy, I think she like... to this day, she still carries a chip on her shoulder that I was so spoiled. All right, so now we're going to move into people who get tired around certain shamans, and people who get tired if they're talking about like shaman things and you realize you start yawning a lot, and they're maybe doing a ceremony or something, right? And you guys start to yawn a lot and you get really, really tired. It is your guides. Anytime somebody gets really tired around a particular shaman, around a particular shrine, even if you're talking about shaman stuff and then you start yawning a lot, it's because you should stop it. Basically, the tiredness and the yawning, your guides, when they do that to shamans, it is so powerful. You will knock out. Like, literally, you will knock out. And it's because they want you to stop talking or stop listening or stop being around something, because it's affecting you. Now, I know, like, I got an email from somebody who asked about tools and getting hand-me-down tools and why this individual kept getting tired every time they were around the tools. That is actually your guides making you tired, because... I've mentioned in like my meditation video eons ago, like when I did this video, but meditation, it's almost to the brink of when you're about to fall asleep. That is what happens, even for myself, if I'm going into the spirit world. My guides bring me there automatically, whereas other people, they may need to like get themselves ready for like 30 minutes to an hour before they finally reach that point. But all shamans do when they're on their bench is meditate. That's it. It's a really loud form of meditation, but that's it. So it's bringing you to that point. So if you're around like somebody who was a shaman, they left their tools for you or anything like that, but you're not a shaman at all and you start to get tired, it's because it's impacting you that they're wanting to bring you there. So if that does happen, it is good to take that out of your environment, like away from you where you normally hang out, like around your house or your living room. Maybe put it away in a closet somewhere just so that it doesn't affect you as much if you're not planning on becoming a shaman just yet. Speaking of which, these are my old rings. So I actually have a ton of rings, and I still have like all my shaman tools, you guys. So these are my rings that I used to wear when I was a shaman. And traditionally there's cloth and string that comes from these rings. So I still have these, and I have not worn them in a very, very long time. But yes, these are my actual tools. And I wanted to bring them out for anybody who's never actually seen shaman tools. So you guys will find that there are tons of different people who will make these actual rings. So even in like Thailand, they actually make these as well. But if you guys can't tell, inside, there's actually 3 little bells inside of these. And then what you do is when you guys wear them and you shake them. I don't want it to be too loud on the camera. But anyways, so I also have the ones with the little pokey things here. So it doesn't matter. You guys can have different types of bells if you're a certain type of shaman and all that stuff. And I'm bringing them out because people have been asking me about if a shaman hands down their tools to you. So the whole theory behind that, and the theory is that whoever the shaman is who gives it to you, it's kind of like they're giving you some of their zha, which is their strength. So when I was a teacher for my students, whenever I raised them to a certain level, I would give them their own rings from me. And that represents that I'm giving a part of me as being their teacher to them so that they get stronger. Now, this also applies to if there's somebody in your family who passed away and they wanted to give it to you or something, or maybe they're no longer being a practicing shaman and they want to give you their tools. It is perfectly fine. You must always clean them though. Always clean them. Don't just use them, okay? So during the new year and all that stuff, and whenever you're putting up a new shrine, even if you go out and you get some new rings, you must always clean them before you can use them if you are a shaman. I'm not talking with like Dawn soap, okay? Remember the Joss money that I was telling you guys about, the spiritual money? You have to cut them into 3 strips, burn them over a bowl of water, and then rinse and wash them. You can even take the silver bars. Where's my silver bars at? So this is my silver bar. So what some people will do in a pot of boiling water, they will place a silver bar in there and boil that water up. And then they would also use that water also with the 3 strips of Asian Joss money and burn it up and throw it in there to make holy water. So make sure you guys always wash them, and so that the metal doesn't get destroyed or anything, make sure you guys always dry them right away, especially like because of the little bell. You want to shake it really hard, try to get the water out of it. Now, since I'm going through my old tools, these are my favorite horns. I've had these forever too, and these were my favorite horns. So shamans will also use these type of tools, and some of them will use horns, you know, different types of horns if you guys want, and it actually gives you guys answers. So I'm not going to be telling you guys how to read horns or anything like that, but yes, these were just my favorite horns when I was a shaman. The only tools I do not have with me anymore is my bench, and I used to have these amazing goat horns that curled. Oh, so those were on top of my shrine, and I don't have those anymore, but other than that, you know, I kept a lot of my old tools with me, and I've moved a ton, you guys, and I've always carried it with me. All right, so these are actually just a little thingy of my tools. I have tons of tools, actually, but not as much as I used to. I gave away a ton of it, actually, because there was like, I had a super huge round one that you actually put over people's bodies. It's like a metal ring, and I had a super long sword. I also put that away too. I gave it to somebody. But anyways, so all in all, it's perfectly fine to get tools handed down to you. You don't even have to use them. You can just leave them on your shrine after you've cleansed them. You can just leave them on your shrine. A lot of people do like to buy brand new stuff when they're becoming a shaman, and that's perfectly fine as well. But if the tools are in good shape, feel free and use them. It's not going to do anything bad to you unless somebody cursed the tools. So that's something else. You'll be able to tell right away if the item has been cursed. After it's hit you, of course. But so that's it for this episode. Until next time, you guys.